All right, well, Kate, it's good to have you on and talk some shop about the fight coming up, the title fight that you have. But before we get into that, I wanted to get into your career so far with Bellator. You're 3-1. When you look back at each fight, win or lose, what have you taken from each fight that kind of put you at this point in your career to be able to go in and contend for a title?
Um, it goes back. Well, I think first one was August 2017, and it was kind of a big learning curve. Like my first time fighting on a big show, away from home. Definitely, it was first time in the US outside of the Ultimate Fighter, anyway. So it was kind of a hard start, that one. I was pretty nervous. I let it get to me a little bit, but sort of settled down. Sort of halfway through that round, and it didn't end as well as I mean, it ended well from my perspective, I guess, but it was sort of a doctor stoppage at the end of the first round, which I mean, it was a good stoppage, but obviously, like, if a stoppage is going to happen, I prefer it to be there and then during a round rather than coming in between rounds. So, that one was more about sort of getting the nerves out of the way than anything else. And the ones since then have, I mean, I'm happy with my last one for sure, and I guess Bellator were as well if they gave me the title shot off the back of it. That was sort of a first round TKO through elbows. And the one before that was Anastasia, who was undefeated at the time. So I'm glad I got the job done. I kind of felt like I made a bit of a meal out of that fight. I fought with too much emotion and sort of burned a little bit too much energy. So it went the distance, which it shouldn't have done, definitely shouldn't have done. And the Corno fight for any loss in Bellator. And again, I think maybe I let her name get to me a little bit too much. She did a really good job. I definitely didn't fight to the best of my ability. So my next one, definitely planning to bring everything I have to the table for it. So I'm going to need to, obviously, for a title fight.
Do you feel that you have grown more on the mental side or the on your skill set side, throughout those four fights?
Definitely both. My striking, I feel like my striking's improved a lot. I've put a decent amount of work into that. Been working with a new coach this year as well on that regard. I've got my brown belt since then. I'm comfortable with my ground game. Obviously, everything can always improve, but it's definitely a mixture of both. This one, I have to make sure everything is spot on because I know it's not going to be an easy fight, and any mistakes I make, physical or mental, obviously, is probably not going to end well. So, need to go into this one sharp.
Before we go further with the title fight, I wanted to go back to your time on The Ultimate Fighter. I talked to a lot of fighters that have been on that show. There's been, 27, 28 seasons now. So there's so many people that have experienced that. And, with you, you fought three times. And when I talk to some of the fighters, they say, oh, I fought three times in 15 days. What was the time span of your fights?
I was quite lucky in a way, especially since it was my first drop to strawweight. So the first making weight for the show itself was really hard work. I didn't really have the weight cut nailed down the same way in fact, it worked a lot better towards the end of the show, but the very first time making strawweight was, I didn't know I could do it until I did it. And I waded naked for that one as well, so it was like bang on 116 naked. So that was hard going. The first fight itself went brilliantly. Got a TKO stoppage, strikes on the ground in the second round. And I was lucky. I think I then had maybe 4 weeks until my next fight. So sort of doubled down on the diet, especially. Got my weight a little bit lower, and that's probably the best. The second one was the best weight cut I've ever had. So I woke up the day of the fight 4 pounds over, and that was absolutely great. And that fight went fine. It was a 2-round decision. It was I then thought, I think 8 days later, that was the bit that was really difficult, because it was so close to the end. I was desperately homesick. All I wanted to do was, finish and go home. So going back into cutting weight straight away, off the back of that second fight was that was really, really tough. I made it, but I don't ever want to fight twice within the span of 8 days again, ever.
Did they have someone helping you with your nutrition and your diet while you were on the show, or were you doing that all on your own?
By the looks of it now, it's a lot easier. I think they're the Performance Institute, but we were pretty much on our own at that point. I suspect if we specifically asked for help, they would have brought it in. But I've had my own nutrition for years. I still do it now. I prefer doing it that way. But it was quite hard. Like, I track electronically. And obviously we didn't have access to our phones or anything along those lines. So there's footage of them filming me writing in my diary in the show, and that's me just manually writing down all the little numbers, the sort of the macros and the calories and stuff I was eating. So that was, it gave me something to do, because there is absolutely nothing to do at the house, and it's so boring, like desperately boring. But all that stuff makes it a little bit harder, really.
What other benefits? Were there any benefits for you to be fighting on 8 days notice? Did it just, in your mind, you knew that you could go through some tough times? Is that what you came out with? Or was there other benefits of you fighting so close, I guess, in a short amount of time?
The whole experience, I found it really difficult being away from my sort of friends, family, teammates. I have coaches that I message every day, and not having any of that, and not having any distractions, sort of no TV, no books. That was incredibly hard. But the fact that I got through it, that means a lot, because I wanted to quit. It wouldn't have been easy to quit, obviously, because the repercussions of that would have been pretty unpleasant. But that was always an option, and it's one that I didn't take. And I'm proud of myself for doing that. And I've got some really good friendships out of the show. China Green, one of the other UK fighters, was on my team, and she is coming out to California and Hawaii with me for the upcoming fight. So that's really cool. I really appreciate that.
Fast forward, you're heading into the biggest fight of your life, but after your last fight in London, you said that you felt like you were one fight away from a title shot, and you felt like maybe I needed to fight one more time. Were you pretty shocked or surprised came to you with the title, right away?
Yeah, definitely. I thought, one more fight, just to sort of solidify myself in that position. And also I just fought on the prelims, so I kind of figured if they were heading in that direction, they might want me on the main card again, just sort of a bit more visibility first. But they were obviously really happy with my finish and what they saw in that fight. But my manager phoned me up. He's like, "Are you ready for this?" And I was like, "Oh, is it?" He's like, "You ready to do 5 rounds?" I was like, "Shit, they've actually given me that fight." So that was took me a little bit of time to. I don't like surprises. Took me a little bit of time to get my head around it, but then I was quite excited. So that was cool.
Were you already in training camp, or did you get to maybe celebrate a little bit and then jump into training camp? Because that's a big moment in your life to actually get that fight, right?
Yeah, I was. I literally just finished session at the gym when I called him back. So I was, definitely training, and I think I had about, I think it was maybe 13 weeks out that they offered me the fight. So there wasn't really much time to do anything beyond sort of, sort out the logistics of fight camp and get going really at that point. So, straight into it.
Fight camp, how did you divide everything up? I'm pretty sure that this is a serious fight, what I mean? Like you gotta get, cross your T's and dot your I's and do everything. Who's helping you with that? Are you doing that on your own?
Well, I split my training between, I've got my main gym that I've fought out of for, over 10 years now, but I split my training between there and my jiu-jitsu gym, which is about 50 miles in the opposite direction. Obviously I've got strength and conditioning gym that I train at as well, quite close to one of the two. So it's a case of coordinating between the different teams. I've got a coach from each gym going out with me. So they're affiliated gyms, so it's not completely at random. But it does take some coordination, just sorting out exactly what I'm doing and when and with who.
You said you were training when you got the call. So before you jump into camp, were you keeping busy doing, it seemed like you were doing grappling or competitions or something, right? Before you got into the camp?
Yeah. This year I haven't done loads of them, just because at brown belt in the UK, it starts to get a lot trickier. There are enough of us now scattered throughout the country, but not so much. And people tend to do the international competitions rather than the local ones. So there are less options available to me. So I try and stay as active as I can, but competition wise, it's a little bit harder now. But Nogi's not as bad because obviously they split it by sort of experience rather than by belt, so that makes it a bit easier.
Did that make it easier for you to transition into a fight camp being active? Because a lot of fighters, they're active but they're not really active, and then they jump into camp and it takes them a couple weeks to get their body loose and ready to go. Was it easier for you?
Yeah, well, I always try and keep vaguely near both my fight weight and my sort of competition weight for jiu-jitsu, and I train harder in fight camp, but I still have a sort of a rough outline that I do year round, sort of strength conditioning, jiu-jitsu, striking, that sort of thing. Sometimes I take a week off or go a whole day or whatever, but this is something I do full time, so I'm not quite sure what I'd do with myself if I just stopped completely.
You said your manager asked you if you're ready for 25 minutes. Have you changed anything for those 25 minutes in your training camp?
Obviously I'm doing more rounds when I'm sort of sparring and doing pad work and stuff like that. A lot of it I've just handed over to my strength conditioning team, and I'm just doing whatever they give me on the program. So we're putting a fair amount of work into the cardio side of it. Hopefully it'll pay off.
Definitely. Now, you go into so-called enemy territory. You're taking on the champ. It's a main event. Has that all sank in yet? Or is it just, you don't even think about it? It's like you think about it during fight week?
I mean, to a certain extent, like, it's definitely fight week where it all comes together. I struggle with making it doesn't quite seem real, if that makes sense. Obviously I put a lot of effort into the physical side of the training, but the moment it all becomes real for me is usually as soon as I've made weight. Like, I've got the weight cut out the way, I've made weight, and then like the focus really, really switches to the fight. It's not even a hard weight cut. It's just that's how it's always worked for me. Sort of make weight, and then it's fight mode really at that point.
So it doesn't seem real to you because it's not in front of you yet. Is that am I right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, like, I want this fight. I'm excited about it. I'm well aware who my opponent is, what I'm training for, but it's sort of a day by day, week by week sort of process of just going into the gym and doing what's in front of me. I can't be excited for 24/7. That doesn't work.
Exhausting too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, when you look at this fight, you know, preparing yourself mentally, is it different from any other fight, do you think? Like, are you the type of fighter that just focuses on themselves during the training camp and says, yeah, I'm fighting the champ, but it's not like, I'm just like thinking about it all the time. It's just I'm focused on myself. I'm focused on what my game plan is. Is that the mentality for yourself?
Yeah, more or less. I've always taken sort of my career one fight at a time, and obviously this is a fight with bigger ramifications, but I can't. I mean, it's still just my next fight, and I don't really want to get too caught up into the belt and anything along those lines. This is the fight that's in front of me. This is the opponent, and winning the fight is my focus rather than anything that may or may not come along with it. So I find that the easiest way of dealing with them.
Outside of the fight, are you excited to go to Hawaii?
Yeah, no, it's a really cool destination. I mean, initially, it was the whole logistics of sort of there's a 10-hour time difference between where I am and Hawaii, and sort of temperature difference as well. But we've kind of got around all that by I'm going, I think, 12 days out. I'm going out to California, and I'm going to sort of finish off training there until they fly me out to Hawaii. So now that that's sorted, I'm sort of less bothered by sort of I'll have acclimatized to the time difference and everything. So I think Hawaii is a pretty cool location.
Yeah, definitely. Smooth sailing now because everything's set up for you. You just have to go, right? And where are you going in California to finish your camp?
Only just booked somewhere in, I think it's the Santa Monica area. So that's as far as I've got at this point. So the friend I'm going out with is sorting out the training aspect of it for me. So we'll just go out there, and I don't want to. I think a hard training will be done by that point. So a lot of it sort of the strength and conditioning stuff and drilling and everything, rather than finding somewhere to go hard, because that could end badly.
It's great to see that you have a great support system around you, taking care of everything. You don't even have to think about it. One last thing before I let you go. There's many different types of competitors in mixed martial arts. Do you feel like you're more of a martial artist or a prize fighter?
Martial artist, I think. Especially as a woman in the sport, and starting out 10 years ago, it was never about money, because that was pretty much non-existent at that point. So it's always been about being better, the constant improvement, like being better than I was a year ago. And for the most part, I think I've managed that fairly well. So that's always been the main aim.
All right, December 21st, Bellator Hawaii main event, flyweight title is on the line. Thank you, Kate, so much for the time. Good luck on the fight. Good luck on your future, and happy holidays.
Thank you very much. You too.